All right, everybody. Hi, we are back. We just did our energy exchange where we found that the energy we would benefit from releasing today was that of restlessness. And the new energy we could call in its place was endurance. So let's just get started. Let's dive into the charts. Again, hi, I'm Kate. This is called spiritual response therapy or spiritual response technique. This is when we take our dowsing pendulum and these dowsing charts and we do some deep dive into the collective consciousness, into our own subconscious, maybe sometimes our unconscious. We get to see things that might be hiding, that might be operating below the surface, so that we can call it up, call it out, look at it, ask for some help from our spirit team, and then also take some accountability, take some responsibility, look at it and say, oh, well, now that I know what's going on, maybe I want to use this to change my life, change my behaviors, change the way I think and act. And and then if you need any additional support, you can always reach out to me and we can have a conversation about anything particularly that you feel you might be going through as it relates to these energies. So let's get started. Let's just go to our first chart and say, what is the root of this restlessness? What is going on here? What do we need to know? So our icky energy chart just came up again. So the root of this restlessness is related to, interesting, our anger. Our anger. Interesting. Well, let's keep going on that. I feel like I already have some things popping into my head, but we'll look at it a little bit more. So we're feeling restless. There's the energy of anger that is sort of the undertone of that restlessness. What else do you want to tell us about this? A desire to suffer. You know, I'm actually going to ask, what percent are we desiring to suffer right now? 0%. That's what I was going to say. A lot of times it's like when desire to suffer comes up, I'm like, oh yeah, we have this desire to suffer. And today, for some reason, because anger was the underlying energy of restlessness, it felt to me immediately when that came up like, no, we're tired of suffering. We're restless and we're angry because we're tired of suffering. We've seen enough suffering, we've experienced enough suffering, and we're over it. And yet, you know, frankly, not to be, harsh, but there's not necessarily an end in sight for many of us. Certainly there's not an end in sight for the amount of suffering that has gone on that we are now being asked to hear about or listen to out there in the world. There is one after the other, a bad news story just coming out every 5 minutes, it seems like. And then for many of us, depending on your life situation, you also have been suffering. Some of us for a very long time, some of us our whole lives, some a short time, doesn't matter how long. But if you're both in the energy of suffering and also watching the suffering of others or having to hear the suffering of other people, that is absolutely going to make you angry and absolutely going to make you feel restless. Like, can this please just end? What do I need to do to make this stop? And that is the collective undertone that I am picking up so much right now. So many people angry and frustrated because they see the suffering and they're like, what are we doing about it? We need to do something about it. We're tired of just hearing about it. We need to do something about it. So that is the root here. What do we need to do to, I feel so silly because my heart just went to this place of like, what do we need to do to help end the suffering? And I don't always like to do clearings like that because I don't know that that is the most beneficial track for me to take with these clearings. I really do like to just open our minds up to awareness and to be able to create a situation where we hear something that we can actually do something about. But today I'm just going to say, am I allowed to look at what can we do to help release us from this suffering? Okay, I just got a yes. So what can we do right here, right now to release us all from this suffering? Okay, so it's going back to a gross energies chart again. So what is the energy that we could release right now? I see. Okay, hate of life. Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense why we're hating life. Again, depending on if you are somebody who is just very, empathic. We are in Pisces season. Pisces are absolutely known for their empathy, for feeling no boundaries between themselves and other people, being able to pick up on the energy and the suffering of those around them. So we're in that season right now. Collectively, we're in that season. We're in that energy. So maybe that's you. You are hating life because you're seeing all the suffering going on around you and it is so painful to bear. And again, it could also be you're hating life because of your own suffering. You've been through so much. You are somebody who has been through the horrors that have been defined for us in the media. You're somebody who's going through your own daily horrors that, maybe are private and that none of us know about. Maybe you've been suffering with your health. Maybe you have been suffering with relationships. Maybe you have just been suffering so deeply on a number of different levels. And again, you're hating life. So we're releasing all of us now from this energy of hate of life, releasing it from our bodies, releasing it from the storage it has been taken up in our muscles, in our bones, in our cells. Yeah. And again, it's not that we don't understand why we're hating life, but it also is of no benefit to us to have the energy of hate of life surrounding us or inside of us. And you can I'm spinning my pendulum, which is like my own little prayer. I know that doesn't make any sense, but in my mind, I'm clearing energy. I am, asking all of our spirit team for support. I'm trying to connect in with the collective consciousness to say, it's okay to let some of this hate of life go. Yes, it's valid. I'm not trying to invalidate your experience by saying it is necessary and important for you to let your hate of life go. But the fact of the matter is, in order to achieve any kind of peace, any kind of satisfaction, we have to be able to let go of this hate of life. And, one way I think that we can do that is through appreciation and gratitude for the positives, for the beauty, for the magic that does exist in the world. And again, I am not going to say that it's not a challenge. It is a challenge. But I also know that all you have to do is open your blinds and look out the window, and you will see something beautiful and magical. You will absolutely see a bird fly by. You will see a glowing green bush. You will see a squirrel eating a nut. You will see a neighbor walking their adorable little dog. You will see the neighborhood cat walking around. You will see beauty and magic. And can we focus our awareness on the beauty and the magic instead of on the things that we hate, the things that have hurt us, the things that we despise, the things that have betrayed us, the things that have disappointed us or let us down? It's an intentional exercise, an intentional practice that we have to participate in order to endure this very challenging time frame that we're in right now. And people have done it across all of time. Humans have been suffering since humans existed, right? There's historical record of it, and yet we keep coming back, right? We keep coming back. We keep finding reasons to be here because it is a very strange and magical world that we live in, and it's a strange and magical experience being human. And so we're calling in awareness to the strange and the magical for all of us right now. All right, what else do we need to do to help assist us in releasing ourselves from this energy of hate of life? Go into our chart 2. What's happening here on our chart 2? Recreation and play. Can you allow yourself to recreate and to play? Go out into the woods, go out into the forest, go to your local community park, go find a tree to sit under, go to a game night, host a game night. Can you play? Can you get out the chalk? Can you get out the bubbles? Can you, even if you just have to go to the cheapest store you can find, go to the thrift store and buy a bunch of used games, puzzles, cards. Again, I always like to get out like the most childish crafting tools you can imagine. And I mentioned it last week. It's like, get out the pipe cleaners, get out the Play-Doh, get out the googly eyes. Go put googly eyes on everything in your house you can possibly think of to put googly eyes on, and you will be in the spirit of recreation and play. My goddaughter bought these little disco balls for us, and we just put them like in all of our plants throughout the house. We put one in like the fish tank. It's like, how do you bring recreation and play into your daily life? And now when you see those things, at least it helps balance that scale of darkness and suffering a little bit more. And I am so not like the spiritual bypassy type. I do not want to tell you that everything is perfect and everything is wonderful if you just change your mindset and you can manifest a perfect life. Like, that's not me. I'm not a believer in that. I understand that life is really, really hard. And, I also believe that we're meant to be here for a reason, and there's something we're supposed to gather here, and there's something we're supposed to experience. And in order to endure through the hard things, we balance that out with recreation and play. And I love that the charts show us that, because again, to me, I am not here giving you my advice. I hope that's really clear. Like, I don't even feel like I'm present half the time. Hi, Pisces rising, right? Like, talking about not having boundaries and just flowing and being an illusion fantasy. Most of the time, I don't even know that I feel present. I feel like I'm just speaking. Spirit is using my mouth to speak and my hand to find the information with this pendulum. And that's what I kind of like about it, is like, I get to take a sidestep. I get to like disconnect myself from what's going on here. And I just get to be, the translator, as I like to think of it. So, all right, Spirit's saying recreation and play will help us with our endurance, and it will help ease our desire to suffer, or not our desire to suffer, because it was the opposite, right? It was like, we're sick of suffering. Our hate of life. So hate of life, in order to help ease that hate of life, we bring in recreation and play. Okay, so what else can we do as it relates to this restlessness? We're just so sick of suffering. We're so sick of being here. We're so sick of all the nonsense, all the bullshit, all the horrible news. We're tired of it. We're exhausted. We need some good things to start happening. And so what can we do here? What else is going on? The mystic archetype again. And this is beautiful because, again, we're in Pisces season. We are in the season of the mystic. Pisces are known as the mystics, as the healers, as the spiritualists. That is what we are known for. And so we are leaning in right now into our mystic archetype. What percent are we open to our mystic archetype? 100%. What percent are we blocked to our mystic archetype? Okay, only 50%. That's great. So I actually feel really good about those numbers, but let's find what can we do to knock out that 50% block, to open us up fully into our mystic archetype. What can we do to open us up? Fear of life and guilt is sort of this combination that I'm seeing right now. And I get this. I totally get this, because I'm a Pisces rising, and I sometimes have guilt for, again, I don't want to come across as spiritual bypassing. I don't want to come across as somebody who is encouraging all of us to be delusional about the realities of this world. I also feel guilty sometimes for my own desire to escape, for my own desire to play in the world of illusion and fantasy instead of being present and right here in this tangible, palpable, earthy world. And so I get it, but we're releasing ourselves from that now. And you can say it with me. I release myself from any guilt I have for being a mystical, magical being. I embrace the Pisces archetype. I embrace the Pisces energy. I'm excited about my mysticism. I'm excited about my spirituality. I'm not ashamed of it. I embrace it. Ooh, okay. Yeah. And that fear of life piece is interesting too, because it makes me curious, like, do we fear the life that we could create if we tapped into our mystic archetype? So I think we're led to believe that, that there is something out of control in mysticism. There is something that is shameful too in mysticism. It's like, oh, well, you can't prove it. It's not real. So you should be ashamed of it, or you should be afraid of it. So releasing all of us from that silliness now. Let's just own it and embrace it. I always feel like, again, it's like, as long as I'm not hurting anyone and I'm not harming myself by being in my mysticism, by being in my, my woo-woo beliefs, then, why does it matter? Why does it matter? It doesn't. If I want to be woo-woo, if I want to just be like, no, I'm going to own my woo, I'm just going to own my Pisces rising, I'm just going to own my mysticism and my, my love of the unseen and the other realms, then again, I'm not hurting anybody, still showing up to work every day, still paying my bills, still feeding my dogs, still doing all the things I need to do. Why does it matter? And you can ask yourself that, right? Maybe you're somebody who has been, 50% blocked to your mystic archetype. And you can ask yourself, yeah, what have I been afraid of? Why haven't I been leaning into it 100%? What has been blocking me to leaning 100% into my mystic archetype? To believing in, to researching, to exploring my spiritual side. To tap into my intuition, into my third eye, and into the other realms. Yeah, interesting question there to ask ourselves. Okay, is there anything else you want me to explore when it comes to our restlessness? No, that's my no, right? And so now we're gonna look at our endurance. So we go to our percentage chart and we say, what percent are we open to our endurance and able to access our endurance 100%, but what percent are we blocked to our endurance? Also 100%. So let's figure out what's blocking us to our endurance. Because again, Lord knows we're gonna need some endurance. These days, there is a lot to endure. There just is. There's a lot to endure right now. It is no fun. It has been challenging. It's difficult. Yeah. So programs in our subconscious mind of one, these are higher level blocks in our soul's evolution, our soul's journey, in our conscious awareness. This is not base level stuff. These are programs that we can just ask to be cleared right now. They are programs that are blocking us to our endurance. And in my mind, some of these programs are those lies, those outdated beliefs that say everything is horrible, everything is awful. These are lies, these are programs that say, if there is war and death and trauma and suffering, then this life isn't worth living. We release ourselves from those outdated beliefs. We give ourselves permission to live and exist happily in this very dark and difficult world. And you can say right now, I give myself permission to love this life. I give myself permission to appreciate this life. And I open my awareness to beauty, to joy, to magic. Letting go of this need I feel to hate life, to want to escape it. And you can let out a good exhale right now. What else do we need to do to unblock ourselves to our endurance? Going back to some archetypes or some negative potentials. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think that's what that is. So self-destruction. I think this is like a human thing. I don't think that this is an individual thing. I don't think that as individuals, I'm not speaking right now to any one individual, but collectively, there is something weird about humans' desire to self-destruct. There just is. And we have it because we've been destroying ourselves. Societies have been destroying themselves forever or been destroying each other. And when you destroy somebody else, you're destroying yourself because we're all connected. We're all connected. There's only one earth. There is only one consciousness. There is only one collective, ultimately. We are all made up of the same stuff. Ultimately, we all come from the same DNA. Yes, there was a splitting and a splintering at a certain point, but if you go all the way back and you trace it all the way back, it goes to one place, one time, one moment. And we all just came from that one moment. And when we want to destroy each other, it's really a product of wanting to destroy ourselves. And it does make me think back to this, like not really ultimately wanting to be here because it's hard and it's confusing. And what even is this anyway? I think collectively, there is this deep existential crisis that has been going on, probably since the dawn of time, since we came, front to front, we came face to face with our own mortality. And it's really difficult. I think one of the most difficult parts of being human is, why am I here and what comes next? To have that level of intelligence, to have that level of awareness, to be a mammal that is able to think about its own life and death in that way is a very unique experience. to our knowledge, humans are the only ones that have that, that challenge. We're the only ones that look at that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. We don't know necessarily. We don't communicate on that level with animals. Maybe they have it in their own way, but we know for sure mammals have it, and they have it hardcore. And I do think that that's part of our desire to self-destruct in a way that other creatures don't desire to self-destruct in the way humans desire to self-destruct. We desire it because we're afraid of being here, because we don't know why we're here and we don't know what comes next. And it's almost like this weird juxtaposition between desperately wanting to hang on to being here, but then also wanting to escape this because we don't understand it. But then we're like, escape to what? And I think that is also part of why these very, 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 very wealthy people are so lost, because their understanding of our existence is skewed. And ultimately, they fear so deeply what comes next. And they're trying so hard to control this current experience, the experience of being human, because they cannot bear the fact that in all reality, you can't control it. You can't control the fact that you are going to one day be here and then one day not. And then we get into power trips, and then we get into all these other things just out of the fear of having to look at the truth of our own existence. Yeah, and it's interesting because now with everything going on, it's like we're recognizing that even people who on the outside have expressed themselves as being deeply spiritual are just as lost and, making just as bad of decisions. And just because you come across as being deeply spiritual doesn't mean you actually are. But again, I think it's just this reflection of this misunderstanding of human existence and human experience that a lot of people confront. So now what percent are we blocked to our endurance? About 20%. So let's find out what's the last thing we can do to kick that final 20% block to our endurance out of the way. Okay, what is going on here? Blocks to our verbal expression. Not feeling like we can defend ourselves, not feeling like we can safely express ourselves. We're calling in the complete clearing and opening of all of our throat chakras, creating a beautiful connection between mind and mouth. I always think about that. When I'm struggling with, struggling with expressing myself, struggling with representing who and what I really am. I like to imagine this like beautiful connection, I sort of see it as like a racetrack or a really good highway that exists between my brain and my mouth, and my brain and my mouth, and my brain and my mouth. And it's like, okay, movement can happen here. This is like an open highway of communication between those two spaces. And it has been really helpful for me in doing that. And I don't do it all the time, but I definitely do that visualization and that sort of meditation before I'm having to have a hard conversation, or when I'm speaking to somebody who I've been struggling with understanding or having them understand me. So perhaps that's something you can meditate on right now or practice for yourself when you too face that kind of an experience. Okay, anything else we want to do right now before we get started? Yeah, our high self. We need a new high self committee. So we're calling it a new high self committee for all of us. We've talked about this before in spiritual response technique, spiritual response therapy, which is this modality of dowsing I'm doing right now. We believe in something called the higher self. For me, I have kind of my own perspective on this. My higher self is the future version of me that has been here, done that, knows everything that's going to happen, and wants to come here and help me in this present moment. My higher self is the future version of me that is like, girl, hey, listen, I've already made this mistake. I'm going to whisper. I am your intuition whispering in your ear what you can and should do in this moment. So that's a version of my high self committee. Is the higher version of me is on my high self committee. And then we also believe that there are guides, angels, masters, ancestors who are also here supporting and guiding us. And when I think about this, it doesn't have to be necessarily, we believe it on a spiritual level, that there is a bit of a woo spiritual, concept here, like souls, other souls who have been here, done this, elevated to the next level, and now are here to offer guidance and support. But again, I also like to think about this as the collective. I'm a part of a collective, and you're a part of a collective, and we're all here in different ways to support one another through this connection of collective consciousness. So I can tap into my mom's truth and wisdom, not necessarily by picking up the phone, but by tapping into my mom's energy and saying, my mom is a part of collective consciousness. My mom is a part of the same collective awareness as I am. Let me meditate right now on what she would do. And you can do that with ancestors, you can do that with guides, you can do that with whoever. You can do that with somebody you admire who's still living. I call in my teachers and my healers and my practitioners when I'm doing Reiki on someone else. It happened to me yesterday. I was working on a patient doing Reiki, and I was calling in my healers and my teachers. They're still alive, but I was calling in their knowledge, their wisdom, their truth, their power, their energy. Not because I was siphoning off of them, but I was just saying, like, I allow their energy to move through me now to help in healing this person, to help in comforting this person. So you can do that at any time. You know, pick somebody who you really respect and admire and call upon their energy now, call upon their wisdom now, and see what happens. But an important part is listening and allowing and opening yourself up. If you're going to be closed off, very unlikely that it will work or do anything. You have to be an open conduit. And part of that is just practicing it and just believing that it's possible and seeing what happens. For me, it works every time. I do feel the shift. I do feel their energy come through me. I do feel wisdom and knowledge suddenly pop into my mind that should not be there. So give it a whirl. Okay, so now what percent are we blocked to our endurance? What percent are we blocked to our endurance? 0%. Wonderful. So we're going to do 100% of 100% a mop up. That is what we say at the end of every single clearing, asking for anything that has not come up in the charts to just be cleared, anything we didn't get the time or the chance to research. And then we give ourselves some new replacement energies. We know endurance is going to be one of them, but we also are calling upon caring, the energy of caring, the energy of gratitude, the energy of love of life. Hey, perfect, because hate of life was what came up earlier. The energy of wisdom, because we were just calling on wisdom. That's beautiful. All right, so we call upon all of these energies now, opening ourselves up, drawing them in, allowing them to do the work that they want and can do in our lives. Letting out a good exhale. Let's drop back into this very present moment. Finding ourselves in the right here and the right now, maybe putting your feet firmly on the earth, saying, I accept and I'm open to all the healing that wants to take place inside of me, any healing that is in my highest good here and now. Okay, well, I hope that was helpful for you in some way, and we will see you next time on another episode of Clearing with Kate.